What's going on, everyone? My name's Aaron Hunter. I'm a principal developer advocate with the AWS Training Certification team. And today we're here to talk with Michelle about the AWS Skill Center and job roles in the cloud and the solutions architect role.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. Yeah, my name is Michelle. I am a senior technical curriculum architect with AWS. Specifically, though, I'm the global head of curriculum for the AWS Skills Centers.
Wow. So global, we're going to come back to that in a second here, but the global head of curriculum development, which means that you are helping to create, if not the person creating all the content that they teach at the Skill Center. And I was just there a few weeks ago at the Seattle Skill Center for their second birthday.
That's awesome. You know, Arlington, one of our other locations at HQ2, just had its first birthday. And our global, this is where that comes in, Cape Town, South Africa. That location opened just in August this year, and there's lines going out the door. People can't wait to get into the skills centers. So let me tell you a little bit about what the skills centers are. So first and foremost, you can find everything you need on the web, right? So we've got this awesome website that you could go to learn a little bit more about what we do. What's truly unique about the AWS Skills Center is that we focus on non-technical or cloud-curious individuals that want to learn about what it takes to get into a cloud career. What learning do they need to have? And I think my favorite part of all of it, it's all done for free. We don't charge anything for the live instructor-led training that we offer. So here on the website,
now, I'm kind of getting scared here because we mentioned like live instructor-led training. We mentioned the locations, but do they have to be there and be in person, or can they do it virtually?
I love that question. The answer is yes. You can be in person or you can take it virtually. We do it both ways because our key goal is live training, not necessarily you physically being in the space, although that always kind of helps a little bit too. So how do we get you there? This is our basic learning path, and we'll put the link. Don't worry about it. You'll be able to get back out here again. If you're starting from nothing, maybe you've got a kid who's getting ready to graduate high school and doesn't know where to go next, doesn't know what to do. It's perfect for all ages. And as
or if
Aaron
someone's
mentioned,
transitioning from non-tech into tech, and maybe they're transitioning different careers later in their life, they could do that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of those individuals. We call them reskilling is how we term that here, kind of a fancy term. But to find our training, just click on any of these locations. You don't have to live in Cape Town to take training from Cape Town, and you'll be able to get connected to that training. However, Aaron, I think we're here not for this foundational level training, but for our solutions architect, right?
Yes. Yeah, let's jump into that.
So let's talk a little bit about the Solutions Architect Associate exam. This is what we consider to be an associate level exam. With our associate level exams, we're ramping up the difficulty a little bit in what we expect. With a foundational exam, there's three things you're being quizzed on or tested on. One, what are our services at AWS? Why would I use specific services in certain situations? And number three, how do they interact with the other core AWS services? 1, 2, 3. That's a foundational level exam. But with AWS Solutions Architect, we're going to ramp it up at the associate level to now 5 things I've got to keep track of. So 1, what is the service? When would I use it? And how does it interact with other services? But now we're going to add, how do I build solutions to meet specific workload requirements? And then my pinky finger, because that's the one I forgot to count. This seems to be the smallest, least important finger, but it is the most important because this is our best practices, cost effectiveness, performance efficiency. That's what we're going for. And those are the 2 extra factors with Solutions Architect. Designing for efficiency.
The pinky is small but mighty.
Mighty, right? Designing for efficiency, designing solutions to meet workloads. That's where we're ramping up the difficulty a little bit here. So
I'm going to digress here for a second and say it's so mighty. I've seen people do pinky push-ups. Like it can hold entire bodies. Like it's a thing.
Not me.
The pinky is small but mighty. But
it is. That's a lot of effort.
It's a whole lot of effort. How do people who are watching live get started on the AWS certified or starting to prepare for their AWS certified solutions architect associate exam?
No more pinkies, Aaron. Pinkies are finished. We set that aside. And instead, we're going to talk about exam details because that's so much more fun. So much. All right. Exam details. So this quiz has approximately 65 some odd questions on it. What's important is that you're going to have 130 minutes to be able to complete that exam. All of the other pertinent details that you need to have are right here on this page in front of you. But there's something a little more detailed, a little more important that I want to chat with the audience. And that's about the exam itself. So today we're going to focus specifically on serverless capabilities in Amazon S3, because that's one of those exam objectives we want to make sure to cover. So what you're seeing here on the screen is what we call our Solutions Architect Associate Exam Guide, which you can get from back over here on this page. Just scroll down a little bit and there is that lovely link right there. So within
we'll also throw that link in the chat.
Yes, of course. So within the guide, we're going to divide the exam into domains. Now, the one we're focusing on today is domain number 3, building those high-performing architectures. Now, specifically, we're going to be talking about Lambda in Amazon S3. We've got auto-scaling and the other auto-scaling concerns that come into highly resilient architectures, serverless technologies and patterns. Notice how they don't just give us a statement, but they also back it up with the specific services that are related to that statement as well to help us out. All right.
That helps so much. Like if I had that years ago when I was first studying for my exam, like I would have felt like I was more prepared. I just basically went and took the exam.
You just jumped into the pool. You hadn't even tried swimming yet?
I did the wrong way. It's like you jump into a cold pool without tipping your toes in the water. This is a really great way to test the temperature of the water before you jump into it.
That's right. Because you can focus your studies. Let's be fair. There's a million things that we could learn, but we want to dedicate our study time to what's most impactful for what we need to do to get ready for this exam. So talking about impactful, I am a hands-on learner. So it's all about knowing how to do the things and the stuff. So let's talk about some of the things.
And stuff.
And stuff. Yeah, I won't forget, especially with holidays coming up. Stuffing, it's one of my favorite parts.
Oh,
so
gosh.
Let's talk about some stuff.
I bought some pumpkin pie the other day and I ate like half of it last night.
Oh, Dutch apple pie and S3 buckets.
Yes.
Talk about a segue. Yes. All right. So here's a classic scenario. I have, let's say, a real estate company, and all of my real estate agents are going out, and their job when they first meet with the client is to take pictures of that client's home, and then they need to upload them. So I, as a solutions architect, have been asked to build a solution where my real estate agents can go and upload all of their photos to a centralized S3 bucket. We're going to call that reInvent 2023, right? That's going to be our bucket, right? Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
It's kind of the theme right now.
I want to automate a solution to automatically resize those images so that they can be properly placed on our website without any human involvement at all. Right? That's the dream.
Taking an image, uploading it to a bucket, and automatically resizing it for like a web application. Perfect.
Absolutely. Very common scenario that you're going to hear about. So when we start going into practice, we've got to start with creating our buckets, 2 buckets, one for the raw images, one for our resized images. And so you'll see those listed here. Now, the automation component we are going to use is Lambda. Now, remember, Lambda is a serverless application, so we pay for it as we use it rather than a server like EC2, which we pay for over a long period of time. So from a cost efficiency perspective, notice that's going to be a bonus. So when you're going through and reading through those questions, cost efficiency, if the scenario fits, Lambda is a great option for these kinds of operations. Now, within the Lambda console itself, the basic unit of what you are creating is called a function. Now, that function in this case, coining the term again, reInvent 2023, and this is our test function. As things go falling off my desk. Yes, you know, it is.
That excited. I know. It's very exciting.
I know. It's unbelievable. So one of the things that I hear often is that programming languages are tough. They're hard. What I love about tools like Lambda and many of our other coding tools is we provide all kinds of tips and tricks and hints and other ways, templates, blueprints, etc., to
Examples.
help
Yeah.
you get started and to help you jump in. So it provides us with a little basic handler script that we could use. It's not going to do what we want it to do. But let's say I do have a developer that goes out there and builds the code for me. I can actually upload that information from another file so that I don't have to actually write a lick of code myself. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab some of my data here. This is a code that was pre-written for us.
And while you're doing that, you talked about not even having to write a lick of code. I know it may fall outside the scope, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it. There's also Code Whisperer, so you can have that coding companion. Yes. So you don't maybe have to write all the code. You can maybe have some assistance if you're just getting started. But hopefully that bought you some time so you can grab your code in your example.
Code is there. I've got it saved. We should see it here in just a second. And it's an editable interface, which gives us the ability to go in and make minute changes to this code afterwards, such as listing specific bucket names, listing specific file names that we're looking for. Perfect. Lambda has the ability also to use what are called variables or environmental variables, which allow us to dynamically assign these values as well to fit into our codes. Now, as we begin to work with our Lambda code itself, they're going to specify what is the runtime that this is being created in, what is the architecture that it is based on, so we make sure that we're running it on the familiar architecture that we need. And if we happen to develop layers in our code, we would see those listed here as well. Now, this is what we need to be able to move a step forward. So notice I'm just scrolling up. I haven't changed my page at all. And now we can see that we've got that code source that's set up and ready. Now, we have to trigger our code. Nothing's going to happen if it doesn't know that something needs to change. So we are going to trigger using an S3 bucket. In this case, we're going to use a put action. So we've got our different event types that are here. So we're specifically going to say when an image is put into this bucket, we want something to occur.
Okay. So if I were to turn that into like a different analogy, like when someone puts a pumpkin pie in the fridge, Aaron eats said pumpkin pie.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
I like that. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Sticking with that, if Michelle were to happen to make turtle chocolate clusters as a test for gifts for Christmas, the boys will eat them all before she gets one.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Hide one for yourself.
I will. I have to. All right. So
encrypt that turtle chocolate shell with a key that only you have access to.
Obfuscate it, hide it beyond all others. Yeah, that's
all right. Back to the trigger. So when an image is uploaded to the bucket.
Now, it's very important that you specify what bucket. Otherwise, you get a nice red error message like this one that pops up on the screen. Now, fortunately, we are going to be choosing from buckets that are already created, and I want to choose my source bucket. This is my raw bucket where my images are coming from. All right, so we're going to add this. Maybe.
Now I'm thinking about those like turtle chocolates.
They're so good.
Hey, chat, everyone watching live, what's your favorite holiday dessert or treat? If you have one, let us know.
Absolutely. All right. So as the page refreshes here, we're going to see our trigger that shows up here on the page. And then you would continue building from here, all of the other triggers and all of the other methods that you're going to put in place to build this small example of how to move an image from one place to another. Now, one of my favorite things about AWS training is that we provide you with step-by-step guides that will help you to learn without getting all the error messages like I got as I was playing.
It's okay.
You got through them. It gives us the ability to play, to make mistakes, because it's through those mistakes that we're actually internalizing what it is that we're learning. We include amazing mistakes.
They're lessons learned.
They are. They're what help us perfect this art that we call cloud architecting. Maybe perfect is a little ambitious. Uh,
It's it's solutions architect, solutions learning architect. I don't know. We're all here to
I
learn
don't know.
to become solutions architects and
That's
build
right.
this awesome diagram.
That's right. So, step-by-step guides giving us cautions that we need to worry about, helping us learn why we're doing what we're doing step by step along the way. And that's really what it's about when it comes to being a solutions architect. You're not entering an IT job. You're entering a learning job. You are going to be spending the majority of your time learning about new techniques to do new things all the time. And that's really what we want to be able to focus on. If I'm not sure what my next step here is, where can I go and get some help to figure out what my next step is going to be and where that's going to take me? All right, let's
Right,
take a look at some of the
documentation, right?
services.
You can go to the
Absolutely.
documentation, the exam code, or even like
Yeah.
the step-by-step diagram if you're doing one of the builder labs or one of the self-paced labs, because they're there to help you. And I've gone
Yeah.
through several myself when I was first learning.
Absolutely. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I use. So Repost is one of the places where you can go to get all kinds of amazing knowledge information about any service or anything that you're working with. Now, if you just type it up in your services bar when you're in your management console, notice all of the hits that we get, all of the blog articles, tutorials, events, all of these different things. When you come in, they're going to show you recent blog articles. So you can always stay up to date on what's going on in our services, what is being talked about. And that helps you to build that learning idea set where you're focused on always learning something a little new. Is there anything new that you've learned recently, Aaron, that you're willing to share?
Anything new that I've learned recently? The last thing that I learned was about using generative AI services. Like this goes a little bit beyond a solutions architect role,
Mhm.
but using a combination of them, like Code Whisper as a coding companion to help me write faster, and then also using like one of the AI services like Amazon Bedrock to be able to help me kind of break some of my writer's block and get some ideas of like how I might be able to do something in a more efficient way, or it kind of uses a different perspective. So that's something new that I've learned recently. I'm kind of in that generative AI space right now.
Yeah, I absolutely love that space. It's so fascinating to me. How do these tools work? I think one of the really cool things that I've learned recently that I loved is there's a project that takes satellite imagery, and that after a natural disaster such as a hurricane or an earthquake, there's an entire team of volunteers that use tools to now remap those satellite images to help first responders know where are their collapsed buildings, where are their roads that have been taken out by trees. And it's all done through data processing and those satellite images that are being taken on a regular basis. It's just a fascinating way that technology is used. And solutions, when we think about this exam, solutions like what Aaron and I just talked about may seem really, really big, but the services that we're speaking about are services that still have roots in this exam and understanding how would I process images? How would I go and spend time collecting that kind of data? And where on earth would I store that data?
Yeah. And I'm going to we have about 70 seconds left on the timer, looking at it right now. Can you go back to the exam guide real quick? Because I
Absolutely.
dropped this this generative AI mention, and we talked about like image processing. Now, even though generative AI may not be specifically mentioned in the exam guide, if you look for the word machine learning, just do that real quick for me. Then you'll see, and I have it pulled up on my side over here, but you'll see that it says Amazon Comprehend, Forecast, Fraud Detector, Kendra, Lex, Poly, Recognition, SageMaker, TextTrack, Transcribe, Translate, a whole list. Do you have to be a machine learning expert? No. Do you have to know how these services work? Kinda. Do you have to know, like at a high level, how you might be able to weave them in and use them in different applications, like Recognition for image search to see
Yeah.
are there mountains, are there people, are there pets? Yeah, that'll help you. But in our last 20 seconds, I just want to say thank you to Michelle for walking us through what the Skill Center is, where they're located, how people can leverage the power of in-person training or instructor-led training virtually as well, and for walking us through launching a Lambda function and an S3 bucket that can trigger based on uploads.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure to be here and to be with all of you. Thank you so much for watching.
Take care, everyone, and stay tuned for more from AWS On Air live at reInvent 2023.